Jerry inspired here. I got a very special guest. I've known Brenna for many years, and she got into matcha, and her matcha is good. And I'm like, I got to figure out how she got into matcha because I never thought she was a matcha person. So, anyways, Brenna, welcome.
Thank you.
And Ryoko Matcha, what does Ryoko stand for?
So Ryoko, actually in Japanese, it's pronounced Yoko, which means traveling. And so I named the company Ryoko, kind of like the American version, traveling, because I was always traveling with my matcha for a decade prior to starting the business.
Whoa. See, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. When I met
Yeah.
you never talked about matcha. So you've been into matcha for a long time.
Yeah, I've been drinking it for quite a while. I would say started in around maybe like 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna pour a matcha now. Don't mind me.
Wow, look at this.
Just gonna have one for our little interview because it feels fitting.
Yeah. So, Brenna, this is actually the perfect question for you. You know, a lot of coffee shops, a lot of tea shops, they add in milk or something to the matcha, right? How do you do
Yeah.
that? That's the one thing I still don't know how to do.
How to add milk?
Yeah. Do you pour the milk in first or do you pour the matcha first, then the milk?
So I whisk the matcha separately with water in the bowl, and then I like ice and a little bit of oat milk, not too much, so that you can still taste the matcha. And so I add the ice and the oat milk first, and then I put my matcha water mixture on top.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the key. Okay, I'm gonna have to try that next time.
Yeah. You can also add sweetener too. I think if you do add any sweetener, it's good to add it in your bowl and kind of let it like marinate for a little bit so that it really absorbs, as opposed to just like plopping in some honey and it's maybe only in like one sip that you have. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And guys, let me show you guys. So this is what Brenna gave me back in the day. I'm down to my last stick. And
I
I
can't
will tell
believe
you,
you still have these.
I know. I will tell you guys, I never thought I'd be into matcha. You know, I've drank it at the coffee shop and stuff like that, but I realized so much of matcha is not just the taste, which it tastes awesome and the antioxidants. It's also just you learned a new skill. It took me 2 or 3 times before I got the matcha right. And if you guys
Sure.
stay till the end, I'm going to demonstrate what I've learned to Brenda, who's the matcha expert. I'm going to demonstrate my whisking technique. So,
I'm so excited.
yeah. So,
It
anyways,
did take you quite a while to, I think, even use the matcha sticks.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, with anything that you're starting, like a new ritual or habit, I feel like it takes a few times for you to actually like get in the groove. So I'm glad that you are now a matcha person.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start from the beginning, Brenna. How did you get into matcha?
How did I get into matcha? It's funny because I don't actually remember the first matcha I've ever had. And I wish I did, but I do know in my food Instagram, when I go all the way back and scroll really far down, I see matcha from like 2016, 2017, just from like different coffee shops. I think I just tried it somewhere and I liked the taste of it. And I tried a few that tasted really good and then a few that were not so good. So I kept trying more and more. And then I kind of became obsessed with matcha and I stopped drinking coffee and started researching and ordering matcha from Japan and trying so many matchas that I started a business out of it, because I feel like for a while I was going out and getting matcha and it was either too sweet or too milky or bitter, and it was like, I don't want to spend the money. It's like $7 for a drink that you're not sure if it's going to come out the way you like. So I just started making it at home, and now I have like 1 to 2 matchas every day, and I feel like it really plays into my energy levels, my skin, um, how I sleep, how I feel around like my day to day. So now I'm never turning back. Matcha
I
forever.
100% agree with Brenna, what she said. I never thought there'd be something to really take me away from coffee because I have a little bit of a coffee addiction. And then it turns out matcha was the thing because, like Brenna says, the energy sustainability of matcha is different. Coffee will always crash you no matter how good the coffee is. Matcha, I'm serious. Like I drink 2 sticks a day too, so I'm like 2 like Brenna, and I'm up until like 2 a.m. I still don't realize I need
Really?
to just only drink one. Yeah, I'm very sensitive to caffeine, so I shouldn't be drinking two a day. But I drink two a day
What
because your stuff's
time?
good.
What time do you wake up typically?
I wake up at like 9 or 10.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what time is your last matcha that you have?
usually around this time or before.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I'm
So
very sensitive to caffeine. You understand why I need to get off coffee, right?
yeah.
Coffee will
Well,
just
I don't know if you know this part, but I learned this when I was in Japan in April from a tea master. They add a little bit of cold water to the matcha powder before they make their whisking method. So you add a tiny bit of cold water, make it into a paste, and that actually does a few things. So it makes the matcha more umami. It actually, oh my gosh, I can't speak. It makes the matcha more umami. It actually helps with the clumping, so it will be more smooth. And there's something that happens with the reaction of the cold water with the matcha that the L-theanine actually works better. So
Oh.
the L-theanine is naturally occurring in matcha, and it's like a slow release caffeine. So if you use the cold water, it will be even a slower release of the caffeine. So it won't be as intense as if you just go in with the hot water right away. And so maybe try that.
Maybe at the end of this, when the hot water cools, I will
Yeah.
try it with the cold water. It'll be a first, right on camera. See Jerry try to do it for the first time.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So just a little bit of cold water, and you whisk it first.
You don't even have to whisk. You just kind of like make it into a paste, like mix it together, and it will be kind of thick. And you can see all the matcha like kind of blend really nice. And then whisk. Add the hot water
Interesting.
and whisk.
Okay, so when you make into paste, you're using like a spoon or something to kind of
Just use a whisk, but you
just
don't
use.
have to whisk in the motion. You just literally like mix it together with the whisk and then add the hot water, and then that paste will become thinner.
Ah, oh,
So
that's
in
cool.
Japan, they actually have two like types of ways to drink matcha, koicha and usucha. And so koicha is like a really thick style that is not for the weak. It's like super intense. And then usucha is when you have it thin, more
Mhm.
water based. So
Very interesting. Oh, this is so cool. Very interesting. Yeah, when you first started making your own matcha drinks, did you have to learn the whisking motion too, or did it come pretty naturally?
um I mean it came naturally over time. I think yeah, it came pretty naturally. I can't really remember me like struggling with the whisking. You just kind of like give it the flick of the wrist, you
Yeah,
know?
it is. It's a big wrist motion. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I think my right arm is a lot stronger than my left, so I'm working on that right now and like trying to balance them out. But I know that I'm always whisking like for events for hours straight with my right arm only, and it's definitely doing something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So tell me about how you decided ultimately which matcha to source. What was that decision like?
that was it was pretty intense. It was really fun, but I was drinking like 10 different matchas per day at one point and being so caffeinated. And I knew I was getting closer to finding the right one, but it was last year around like March, April, May. I was getting all the samples and I tried so many bitter matchas. I was like, there has to be something that I feel strong enough to like source and give to others because everything I tried was not cutting it. So when I opened the bag of the Sayakari matcha that I first started with, I opened the bag and I smelled it and I knew that it was going to be the one that I sourced before I even tried it because it smelled so nutty and fresh and like creamy and unique. So that was a really exciting day because after trying so many and like side by side, trying to really think about it and find one that not only tastes good, but also comes from a good place and doesn't use pesticides and all of that. It's definitely like hard to find. And then I switched after Sayakari sold out earlier this year. We started carrying an Okumidori from the other side of Japan in Shimane, and a lot of people really love that one. That one is also sold out now. And then we switched to the Samidori, which I actually found in Japan when I was just in Kyoto. I met with a tea master who doesn't do any like type of wholesale or anything. He's very like only in Uji and small batch, but he told me about someone he knew who had a matcha farm nearby, and I literally got an Uber as soon as I could. They were about to like close their office, and so I got there like right before closing and sampled their two matchas, and then the rest was history. And now we have Samidori, but it's sold out until October. But it's like my favorite current matcha, and I'm trying really hard not to have it every day because I don't want to like use up all of my own supply because I have like an event coming up and I'm using it for that. So we're working with very small amounts right now, but it's okay.
I love the amount of dedication you did to kind of finding the right type of matcha for what you think your customer base will be.
Thank you.
And that's actually a question I wanted to ask you is that so as a person of Chinese origin, originally this stuff came from China, but it got lost after the Mongols conquered China and Japan kept it, right? So like how big is matcha in Japan?
Matcha in Japan. So in 2023, when I first went to Japan, matcha was big because it's tradition. And I know like in the Tang dynasty, it was in China and then it eventually moved over to Japan. And so for a while, it's been in their tradition and they have the tea ceremony and it's definitely like common practice among the people who live there. But I have met a few people who are Japanese who like don't drink matcha, which is always kind of like interesting. Or they'll say like, "Oh, my mom drinks it like all the time, but I don't drink it." Um, so 2023, it was pretty popular. And then when I just got back from there in April, I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like the way that matcha has evolved in the last year and a half in Japan is crazy because they're picking up on like all of us American, like with our oat milk and everything that we're doing with the matcha, they have to keep up with that. So they've started carrying the non-dairy milk. They started making it more like aesthetically pleasing in the coffee shops and Instagram stuff. So I would say it's really taking off. And when I got back from Japan, I even felt like a shift when I got back to the US, like how much matcha all of a sudden like was having a big moment. And it still is, but that is why there is now a matcha shortage, which we'll get into later. But yeah, matcha is really popular in Japan. And I see why, because it tastes so good and it's such a beautiful leaf that is just like so special.
Yeah. It's so amazing because I asked my family members in China, like matcha, the whole ancient way of having the whole tea is so lost in China that most of them don't even know that matcha, the whole tea ceremony is Chinese. I'm like, dude, talking about learning your own tradition, you gotta learn it. Like, obviously, there's unfortunate some tensions between the Japanese and Chinese culture due to historical reasons, but it's like it doesn't matter. Like they kept something beautiful from China after the Mongols came. So it's like
True.
I wish I think okay, one day matcha's gonna make its way to China. Ooh, that's gonna be a big audience, big customer base too.
I mean, they do grow some matcha in China. I know that, and I think the quality is just slightly different based off of like exactly like where the soil is and all of the details like on the map, like where what regions they have. I think just plays into like the weather and certain things. But I I feel like people see matcha in China and they're like, oh, we don't want to try it because we want to try the Japanese matcha. But it's so funny because it did come from China. So it's like a whole, people get very like specific on certain things. Like, I don't know if you know about the whole like ceremonial grade thing, but that's like another kind of like piece of this whole matcha craze that people are starting to catch on to because ceremonial grade is actually just a marketing term in the US
That's
and
what
it's
I
not
thought.
something,
Thanks for clarifying that.
yeah, it's not something that they even like talk about in Japan, and now people are starting to realize that. But whenever somebody comes to like a pop-up or whatever, they're like, oh, is it ceremonial grade? And I'm like, this person's new to matcha, but that's okay. No judgment. It's just funny because there's a lot of other pieces like first harvest, single origin, single cultivar. Those are what's important. Ceremonial grade, whatever.
Yeah. I
Potato,
mean,
potato, tomato, tomato. Like it's
yeah.
all. Yeah.
It felt like, oh, I mean, I use it in ceremony, therefore ceremony. It felt like such a marketing gimmick. And the reason I was freshly thinking about this was because as I was thinking about should I interview Brenna, I went on Amazon to look for matcha, and there was a lot of like, ooh, ceremonial grade matcha. I'm like, dude, this looks like such a marketing gimmick.
Yeah, and I honestly wonder, like, how do those matcha companies sustain that supply? Like, they're either making a blend, they're making like a beet mill matcha, which is like a less high quality version. Like stone mill matcha is what you want, because it's more fine texture. So there's definitely something happening. Like, I wonder if people are having like lab made matcha now. Like, there must be something because, like Costco, for example, sorry to like name drop Costco, but like, how are you carrying that matcha in that huge bag to all of your locations? Like, it must not be that good. I haven't
Yeah.
tried it, but I have
Yeah.
my questions.
Well, I will try it and I will get back to you. So
Okay.
I will test it because yeah, since now I got a new hobby and it's better for the body than coffee. The next time I go to Costco, instead of getting a coffee, which I got a Cuban blended coffee last time, I'm gonna get their matcha and make it and compare
Yeah.
it with Brenna's.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you put it in like a smoothie to cover the taste, but you don't want to be drinking matcha that you have to cover the taste.
Exactly. That's the key.
And then the caffeine buzz is also going to be less pleasant too. I
That
noticed that
makes
when I
sense.
was sampling different matchas, sometimes I would get a headache or I would feel like really weird. And I think it's because of pesticides or something they were doing in their cultivation process that did not feel very clean. So now that I found the clean matchas, I'm like, I can't turn back, which is good. But it's also like I'm spoiled to it now.
Yeah, that's something I want to emphasize with the matcha that Brenda carries is that it tastes good. The only reason I asked her about whether how to add in the milks and stuff is because it's just something I did before. But so far, every single matcha I've had of hers, I haven't added anything because it doesn't need it. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's how they drank matcha back in the day. Mo cha,
Yeah.
we call it in Chinese. Mo means like you have to wipe it or you have to like put it into a paste. I mean, yeah, it's like I don't know. Is that what matcha means in Japanese too? Mocha. That's what it means in Chinese.
Cha, I believe cha is tea.
Yeah,
I'll double check this
yeah.
because I
Or
know
maybe
I
it's
learned this recently, but
yeah, mocha. It's actually I believe it's pronounced mocha. Chinese has tones, right? So I believe it's
yeah.
actually the fourth tone. It's mocha. But Chinese
Uh,
is a weird language where you can have multiple tones for the same characters.
yeah, it seems really confusing, even though I love to learn. But it says matcha translates to powdered tea, and the ma part means ground or rubbed, and cha means tea.
Okay, yeah, more. Yeah, like I said, like rubbed or yeah, I see. Yeah, it could mean powder too. Okay, perfect. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same exact direct word that went over to Japan.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, more. It's funny because if you think about the word like rub, it's hard for someone to understand, okay, how does it become the powder, right? But do you know how they create the powder, Brenna?
I do know how.
Mhm.
I just visited a couple of farms and went into their production facility, and I did the whole like walkthrough. Everything is so clean. Like you put on your little hair mask and your outfit to go inside. They like make you clean everything. Like you go through like this air machine to clean your body. And so there's several processes, but mainly the matcha is grown in the shade for a certain amount of days where the chlorophyll boosts and it becomes more caffeinated. That's like what differentiates because all tea comes from the plant called Camellia sinensis. And so the differentiating factor of matcha is that it's grown in the shade. Then they pick the leaves. Either these are hand picked, which is like really rare, so that's really cool. And a lot of them are machine picked, which is also fine. But the stems may be like in the mix. And when you're hand picking, it's a lot better and easier to like separate the stem from the leaf and make it more smooth. But they hand pick them and then put all of that into like a bag. They pretty much they steam it, roast it, depending on the cultivar. So like Samadori, Okamidori, some of them have different roasting levels to make it taste more like toasty versus like more earthy. And then they grind it in a stone mill, which takes 30 minutes. Or no, sorry. It takes 30 grams, which is a tin. 30 grams is 1 hour. So you can only produce one tin in an hour, which is why there's a little bit of an issue right now, because there's so much production going on in such high volume and it's like the harvest season. So they're making these tins 1 hour at a time,
Wow.
which is why some businesses have started doing bead milling, which is like something that they're trying to do to like ease the demand supply issue. And I've tried some of the bead mill matcha and I made the decision to stay with the stone milling because the bead milling, it's just a little bit of like a grainy texture. It's not super fine like how a stone mill would be. And I think like when I drink a matcha, I want it to be super smooth. So no bead milling over here.
That makes sense. And the whole time you're talking about the process, I'm trying to figure out where the rub came from. I guess it's the stone, like the grounding, right? That's where the rub,
Yeah,
that's
I
how
think
it came.
so.
Wow. So now we
I've
finally
thought
put it
about
together.
like getting a stone. I've actually thought about having the full leaf be sent here and then stone milling them here, which is really rare in the US. And stone mills, I mean, you can get a huge stone mill or you can get like a smaller one. So I've thought about it, but I think next year we'll experiment with that.
Yeah. So what year's the company at now?
We're coming up on 1 year on
Oh,
July 1st. So we're
oh
actually
wow.
having our tasting anniversary this Saturday at Fellow in Venice.
I see. So, and I take it that's currently how you make the majority of your sales, right? Live events and things like that.
Pop-ups are definitely number one. And then online is also like a portion of it. And then our wholesale to our coffee shops. And we actually do wholesale with Fellow. So they have tins in their store. We have a coffee shop in Seattle right now that carries the matcha that we are potentially doing a pop-up with next month. But we were in a really great coffee shop in Santa Monica, Demitas. But we are in the process of kind of like figuring out how to make them a custom blend so that they can be able to get the matcha and have it at a better price.
Oh,
Because they started out with like single origin matcha, which is so great and also like a little bit too pricey for their reasoning. And so we'll see about doing a blend with them. But they were also adding like milk and sugar to the matcha because people want it like that. And I was like, no, it's too nice.
yeah.
Don't do
Now that
it.
I've tasted your matcha, I agree. Like it doesn't need to be filled with too much stuff besides the matcha.
Yeah, it almost kind of is like a disgrace to the
Yeah.
matcha
Yeah.
because
I 100% agree.
you
Wow.
have to try the Samadori.
Yeah. Yeah. That could be next. Maybe next time I take a business trip to LA or you take a business trip to New York or DC or something,
Yeah,
we can meet up and figure out a way to do a video together and you can make it, we'll film it or whatever. But that'll be for the future. Um,
yeah.
so how did you find like the coffee shop in Seattle to wholesale to? Or I can understand, since you live near Demitas, it's like, oh, you could go to the coffee shop, talk to them, but like how did the Seattle one come to place?
That one actually through a friend. So my really good friend who lives in Miami is friends with the owner of the coffee shop. And so she connected me to him and I sent them over some samples and they've been carrying it since they launched their business. I think it's been maybe like 8 months.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and I haven't seen their coffee shop yet. It's called Gold Vine Coffee. It looks really cute in Seattle. So it will be really nice to go see it and meet their customers. And sorry, there's a lot of like truck noises outside right now. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can't hear. So Don't worry. Um, one thing good about where I live now. I back in the day, you never went into where I lived back in the day, but since my window faced the alley in Santa Monica, every day had the garbage and the recycling come, and then all this stuff. So half the time I'd be interviewing, I'm like, then I'd have to mute it. So yeah, I
Yeah.
remember those days.
Yep. And it is like it's generally a really quiet area in where I'm living, but like sometimes those trucks, it's like street sweeping, garbage, just whatever it is. Maybe
Yeah.
someone screaming.
Oh yeah, someone's screaming.
Yeah. My building is actually doing construction right now on the roof. It's the third week, and the first week was extremely loud. So today's not so bad, but I'm like, oh, I hope they don't start like doing anything during this interview.
So let's talk about what's the plan for year two. Obviously, you've gotten on some people's radars, right? You got on my radar. I mean, it took me a long time of convincing because I was like, I got coffee. But once I had the matcha, I was like, so what is the plan for year two? How are you going to get on more people's radar? I mean, I think you'll do more interviews. This is going to inspire you to do more interviews. But what else are you going to do?
Yeah. Ooh, I like this question. It's challenging me already. Um, so I think I definitely I like being online. I think we're going to evolve and maybe start because I'm labeling everything at home. And so I think in order to scale, we're going to have someone packaging out maybe from Japan, starting to send out to different places. And we're planning to certify organic next year for one of our matchas. That will be great. We're going to start bringing on more cultivars and doing more events and partnerships. One of my goals for next year is to do a pop-up at a really cool store in Tokyo that we're working with that has a location in Venice. So that's on my mind. I've thought about opening a coffee shop. I shouldn't say coffee shop, a matcha shop. I'm so used to saying coffee shop. It's like ingrained in all of our heads, but I'm thinking about maybe doing something like a brick and mortar, but haven't fully thought about that yet. So still in the air, but I think right now I'm trying not to say too much because, I don't want to say too much before all of this is happening, but we have a few people interested in partnering, like to help elevate the brand and maybe scale it up a little bit. I just don't really know about scaling this quality of matcha because, like, sure, you can scale a business and you might lose that quality of your product. And I'm not looking to do that. So we're just kind of in the brainstorming phase and figuring out a way to scale properly, keeping the quality and doing it slowly too. I mean, I'm not in a rush. I'd rather be really careful with every decision. I am like a bit of a perfectionist, which I've overcome in having a business because sometimes you just have to like do things and move on to the next thing because there's a lot to do. So we're just gonna slowly make our decisions, but it's gonna be really great and I'm excited. And I feel like I'm missing something, but we're gonna be doing more pop-ups with like brand ambassadors in the US. We already sort of started that, but it will be more. So potentially like a few events going on in the same day in different cities. So I won't be able to be at every single one, but I think that's just like what you have to accept when you're growing a business. And I know like if I train someone properly, they can kick butt and do it right. So
And
yeah.
that's something I will add that I will 100% be behind is that if you can take care of the packaging before it reaches you or before it reaches the customer so you don't spend that time packaging, that's one of the things that'll save you so much because that's unfortunately, even if you enjoy it, that's a little bit of the busy work. And
No.
oh, you don't enjoy it?
I
There
mean,
you go.
I honestly feel like the stickers are sort of a pain to put on. And I told myself, like, okay, like I can do this for now, but like I'm getting samples from Japan of stickers that they have so I can look at the quality and see, because we do have like really good quality waterproof stickers right now that are really, really nice. So it's kind of hard to be like handing that job off to someone else and it being looking a little bit different. But I'm ready for it because it is a lot of work. Like I have to sit and commit for like an hour, however many tins I'm labeling, and it does take a while. So
Yeah. Shout out my friends in Santa Monica, Giuliano and Hank. But Hank was my roommate, and they have Nature's Wildberry, which that was all those years I went to Expo West is because they were Nature's Wildberry. They were on Shark Tank, but one of the things that they did after many years, they used to do what Brenna did. They used to kind of package a lot of this stuff themselves. But
yeah,
eventually, after they grew enough, they're like, okay, we got to get this done by someone else, right? So that's why when I heard Brenda's thinking, okay, I gotta like not be doing all the packaging. I was like, haha, I know someone else who figured that out and did that, and now they
yeah,
can focus on other things, right?
exactly. Yeah, because there are a lot of other things to be focusing on, and it is definitely the busy work.
Yeah,
But it's also like the paying your dues,
yeah,
learning
it
how
is.
things go, so that when you can eventually have somebody else taking care of that, you can be so grateful that you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally, man. I mean, the equivalent I give to being a content creator is you gotta edit your stuff. Like you gotta learn how to edit. Because
Yeah.
if you pay other people to edit, but you don't know what your own style is or what your own preferences, or in general, what is a good edit, you're never gonna
Mhm.
get there, right? So it is like paying your dues. It's like, well, I've been editing for more than 10 years, so obviously I'm pretty tired of it too. But now if I outsource it to people, I'll be like, that's not how I edit, man. Hey, like you gotta know what you want is, and that's
True.
part of the packaging thing that Brenna's saying.
It's true. It is very true. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get better with like Canva and just little editing things because I do have a designer who helps out with certain things. She lives in Colorado, but
Mhm.
she helped with the logo and then I directed the vision of everything. But it's like, I know like if I want something right now done today, like I have to get that done and I need to know how to do it. I can't always be like reaching out to other people because that is one thing I'll say. It's like between working with people in Japan and working with people here and other companies and whatnot, like it's always like you're somewhat waiting on someone to answer something. And so you also just have to really trust in like the whole process and like never like lose sight of like what the goal and vision is, because if you have to be strong, like you really have to be so strong, because if you're not, it's easy to be like bummed about getting a no from someone, or like it's all redirection, but it's just a lot of other moving parts. Like I can't produce the matcha in my apartment and have a big company give me the okay for a certain day. Like I'm just kind of like waiting and manifesting that it all works out.
How big's your current team right now? Because you said we a lot. So do you have a business partner, or when you mean we, just mean like the people in general that I outsource and work with?
Well, yeah, so I work with the suppliers, the farmers, but it's funny. I always say we, and it's me, Lenny, and Ryoko Matcha is also, um, I guess not a person, but maybe like an entity.
Oh, I see. That's
But
what you
I
mean by
think
we. That makes sense.
I like to say we because first of all, it gives a little bit of credibility. Um, and I think like you have to fake it till you make it sometimes. And like you just say we, like you have a business and it's we. It could be me and like whoever I'm working with that day I'm referring to, but it's also like me. So I switch between we and I. I also think like I sounds kind of like a little bit like self centered, and I don't like that. And I know like people want, when you're building a brand, they want to see your face and hear your story and like pair you with the brand. And I know like putting me in certain photos is necessary for like growth. People say this, but I just like to have like Ryoko Matcha be like its thing
Yeah, that
without
makes
me
a
in it
lot of
sometimes.
sense. Yeah,
But we
that's a
I,
lot of. That's really cool. I like that. That's an example of what you call like manifestation a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is like a whole other topic, but manifesting and mindset and everything like that, keeping your energy like clear, cleansed, or whatever you want to call it, like it's really like the number one thing that in life I've learned, but also like really important when you're in like this whole business journey, because you can't allow other people to like alter if you're in a good mood or if you're feeling positive about something, like holding that close and not allowing other people to like tarnish it, because it's a lot of work having a business, and
Yeah,
it's
I
all mindset.
100% agree. I 100% agree. It's so important to there will always be people who kind of will whether they intend on or not discourage you. It's just an unfortunate part of life.
Yeah, no, it's a true thing. And I've noticed it and had a lot of instances. It's so interesting, like having a business, what it brings in certain ways. Like just I think like people pair like someone having a business with like obviously they see someone's ambitious and all of that, but it's something interesting in LA, maybe specifically too. I'm sure other cities, but it feels like people are like drawn to people who have business and like want to like see how they can like get something out of them, type of thing. You know what I mean? Maybe I shouldn't be saying this on this interview, but it's something I navigate, and I'm just like, I really am careful with like who I surround myself with, because everybody, you never really know.
It's a very interesting thing that I guess maybe I got used to it living in LA all those years, or maybe because in LA everyone either wants to be an actor or has a script or is a YouTuber or something, right? But so for
Yeah.
me, I didn't experience that too much, but also it's the difference between you and I is that I always was like me, right? I never just said we. So I was always very guarded with my brands. Like, for
Mm,
example, like people didn't know I had a YouTube channel that it just interviewed people, or like a lot
yeah.
of people, besides if they did martial arts, didn't know of me. So it's just like that's sort of how maybe I navigate it. It's like, okay, I got this thing going on. I'm not gonna even really like obviously I'm living it every day, but it's not like, oh, hi, I'm a YouTuber. It's not like that, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's different
Yeah.
for you because you have to make sales. So it's like a lot of times, if you can, you got to talk about your products. But I can imagine how it's like it
Mm,
might attract people who was like, hey, give me a free sample,
yeah. No, this is all so relevant to me right now. Like anytime I go anywhere, it's always like my friend was like, "You were always working." Because like I'll be somewhere and then I kind of like pop them. Like I was in an Uber the other day and the Uber driver was talking about how his daughter loves matcha. And I was like, "Oh, you should have her try Ryoko Matcha. It's a local matcha from Santa Monica, blah, 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 blah." I never said it was my company. I literally was just saying this stuff about it. And my friend was looking at me like, "You are just so ridiculous." But it is really like, no one's going to do it for me. So I have to like kind of like be okay with doing that. And sometimes I don't always want to do it, depending on like the day, but it is a part of it and networking. And I think I have a good like one of my strong suits is networking, probably. So I think part of this comes somewhat like naturally, but it is it's like a weird balance of like figuring out like how to do all of that and still be like, I'm working at night. I'm working like all hours of the day doing something, emailing or like remembering to write something down or doing some design work. And so just finding the balance, because anytime I'm out, like it's kind of like a networking game a little bit, but I also just want to like do other things too. So
Yeah.
like I was just at the gym and somebody came up to me and was like, "Oh, I know you." And I was like, I felt so bad because I don't know him. And I'm not going to like fully say the whole thing because I don't know who listens to this, but I was at an event recently that was hosted by his girlfriend. And I just didn't remember him because I've met so many people and it's really hard to remember everyone. But I have my Ryoko Matcha fellow Tumblr and my phone like on the turf of the gym. So I guess he realized, and I was like, this is so funny. Like, it is like very like networky and like I don't know. And I don't like to be always like noticed like that when I'm in Santa Monica, but I think I'm accepting it that like I'm building a brand, but I'm also like building like me too, which is cool. It's good.
Yeah. I was gonna suggest, I don't know if you do this already, but Lenny should have like a sweater or something. I mean, LA weather doesn't really need a sweater, but Lenny should have something, because he's the perfect size. Actually, if Lenny were bigger, then you could give him like almost like a dog harness with but since Lenny's smaller,
I could.
yeah.
She's totally looking up right now, like, who said my name? I
Uh
could do like a little bandana.
yeah, yeah.
We're gonna have some merch at this event this weekend, and maybe for the next one I can do some type of like bandana merch.
Yeah. Yeah,
Since
because
we're
some
starting
days
out
if
with
we don't
hats.
want to be networking, at least Lenny can be like that, right? Lenny can always
Yeah,
your brand
but
ambassador.
the park over here, like it's like kind of like everyone just talks to everyone, and that's just like what you do. But I really do try to like keep that separate. Like I just go there to like wind down and walk Lenny, but it is like, yeah, if she had that bandana on, I think people would be like, I don't know.
Exactly. Okay, that's cool. So matcha's your thing, right? You don't think you'll get into coffee or something else? It's just matcha.
Somebody, speaking of like going to the park and trying to be relaxed, somebody at the park the other day was like, you should start to sell coffee. And I was like, I'm gonna continue my walk and try to like keep my peace right now because I don't want to sell coffee. But
Yeah. It
I appreciate that person's suggestion.
yeah.
I get a lot of unsolicited suggestions.
Yeah,
So
because it's like as I asked that question, I realized matcha in itself is already such a big niche. Like it seems like a niche, but it's a big niche. So like you
yeah.
could spend the rest of your life just doing matcha. Why try to also do even tea leaves? Just do matcha.
Yeah. No, and even just matcha, there's so much there that you can kind of like stem from. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas. I'm not going to say them now, but yeah, we could stick with matcha and we can go on and on. Matcha is good. I actually got a question on my Instagram. I posted like asking what topics they would like us to cover,
Mhm.
and I only got one response, which is great, but it's a question that says, how have you had to work to distinguish yourself from the other brands?
Ooh, good question.
So that was a really good question. And I was thinking about it, and I think mainly like the name Yoko Traveling Matcha is like the big distinguishing part. Because like I encourage everyone to travel with their matcha and bring it with them on the go. And other matcha brands are just a matcha brand. This is like more of like an active lifestyle where we're targeting hotels, glamping sites, like maybe airlines, like places like anything to do with traveling. Because that's like the whole point. You want to travel with the matcha that you like and be able to make it in the hotel, be able to make it in the car. Like I've made matcha in the most weird places, but every time I felt so happy doing it. And like once it was made and in front of me, I was like, this is just so cool. Like you can bring in Yosemite, I was like on top of a rock, like just making some matcha, and that's special to be able to like be like tired after your hike and make a matcha and like look at that view. That's nice.
I
So I
see.
think that's
So
how we stand out.
yeah, yeah. And again, just understanding the Yoko part, it means like traveling. That's very important.
Yeah. We even have a little, this is like our little like sub logo,
Oh.
which it can be sort of confusing, but to me, I don't care. I think like everything has a little meaning behind it, and I like to explain it and like share what it is. Like a lot of people don't even realize that the whisk is inside of like a geo pin, which means like bring your matcha with you here or with you wherever you go. Like
Mhm.
so, yeah.
Yeah, the direct one-to-one. So it's the same character in Chinese, Lu Xing. So Lu Xing means Yoko. Now I know now. So
Uh,
yeah, that's Lu Xing in Chinese. So
Wait,
it
do you speak
it
fluent
literally means
Chinese?
travel. It literally means travel in
Oh,
Chinese too. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
do you speak fluent?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so impressive.
Yeah. I
Wow.
used to work at ByteDance, so, you know, the company that owns TikTok, so
Yeah,
I even if I didn't wanna be fluent by the end of it, I had to since all my coworkers were
yeah,
Chinese, so,
true.
yeah.
I guess you could pick it up somewhat, but for me, like I'm trying to learn Japanese and the whole fact of it being like a whole other character, then like I guess you could start by learning like the English part, and just writing out like arigato gozaimasu, but like it just seems like, oh, it might take me 10 years. But I think in 10 years I could try to be pretty fluent if I just stick with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's obviously I have an unfair advantage because I grew up with characters. So
Yeah,
it's just like no matter what, I can pick up the characters within a week because I grew up knowing how to identify the characters. But if you didn't grow up like knowing the differences between the characters, you have to develop that pattern recognition, right? So
true.
yeah.
True. That's
Wow.
so cool. So impressed.
So while we have it, let's see how well Brenna has taught me. So let's try to make some matcha now. We've never done this before. So for those of you watching, if this works, I won't cut it out. If it doesn't work, this might be a behind the scenes. So I'm gonna try to switch my video now. Let's see what
Okay.
happens. Let's see if
Good
this works.
luck.
Oh, this worked. Okay, perfect.
Oh, perfect.
All right. For those of you watching, this was one of the things I learned, and Brent, I'd love to get your opinion on this. You want to keep the whisker hot, right? It can't be cold. So this has been in hot water.
Yes.
So
Well, when you first use a whisk for the first time, you're supposed to bloom it and let it sit like that in boiling water for a few minutes so that
uh-huh.
the tines will bloom open.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, you could leave it like in some warm water before you make your matcha, but I would say the most important thing would be to use like a whisk holder. You can get them online, and that just keeps the shape of your whisk and it
Oh.
allows it to dry the right way. You're not supposed to set it um upright. You should actually have it like upside down, like how it looks
Oh,
in.
so it should be like this when it's air
Yeah.
drying.
So like if you were to leave it the other way, the water goes into the inside and it can create mold.
Oh, good
So be
call,
careful.
Brenna.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. So now I know. So I gotta find a way to makeshift hang it like this for now until I get a whisk holder.
Yeah. And then maybe soon we'll get you a new whisk because that one looks like it might be almost ready to be. Actually, it looks okay.
It looks okay.
It looks
Yeah.
okay. But soon, maybe a new whisk.
Okay. And I guess you sell that, right, Brenna?
I do.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be nice for you to get a new one and then just keep the whisk holder with it from day one. That way the shape is always really nice.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So one thing I learned, Brenna, is that the cup that you whisk the matcha has to be dry, right? You don't want like it to clump up a little in there.
True. Very
Mhm.
true.
That's something I
Yeah, you
learned.
want to use a dry bowl.
Dry bowl. But I guess what I'm learning from you is you can slightly put a little bit of cold water in with the matcha.
Yeah.
How much do I put if I want to do that? How much
Um,
cold water?
I would say like half an ounce, maybe.
Oh, the thing is, I don't have a measuring cup, so
I
maybe
know like
I'll.
everybody's always confused about the measurements, but my scale, I do it in like grams, ounces, and I know some people like to do teaspoons and um all that. So I would say maybe once you start making matcha even more, you'll be able to eyeball it
Yeah,
and just
eyeball it.
use like a little bit and create the paste so that it's like not too watery, but not making a paste.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe for this time, I will just I will just do the hot water. I won't try to do the cold water, but I'll try it next time, and I will
Or
send it to
just
Brenna.
try it. It's okay, you could try it.
Maybe I'll try it.
I
Okay,
don't think you'll mess it up. I think if you just use a little bit and then you can always add a little more if you need, but
okay,
it would
perfect.
be cool to see you do it on here.
I know, I know. Okay, all
I
right.
think you should do it.
I like Brenna being very encouraging. I love it. When you're at your pop-up events, do people ask you to teach them this stuff?
Yes, they want me to walk them through it and I usually do. if it's not like too busy, depending how busy it is. But yeah, I like to educate people on it, and people think it's so intimidating looking, like all of the different tools, but once you start getting in the swing of things, it's really not that difficult and pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
I
What
just made a matcha in like 30 seconds before when I was like, oh, I'm gonna go make a matcha really quick. I did it so fast just from like practicing, I guess.
I guess, huh? What's the most common misconception or mistake when people think about matcha?
I think a lot of people skip the sifting part, which you also just skipped
I
the sifting
definitely skipped that.
part.
Yeah, I know about that. Yeah, I skipped it.
That's why the cold water thing is good because it almost kind of makes up for it. Like you can take out the clumps in other ways. And if you whisk really well, if you have the hot water, if you're doing all the other steps and you know that you can whisk it right, you won't really mess it up. But some people, they're like not using the right water temperature, they're not sifting, and then they're not knowing how to whisk it properly. And then you might get a clumpy matcha
I see.
with all that.
Okay, so here I'm gonna try it. Okay, I'm gonna put some cold water first. Ooh, this is scary. This is scary.
Don't be scared.
So cold water first, and use
A
the
little.
whisk to make it into a little paste, huh? Okay.
Just a little, not too much.
Yeah. Let's see. Like that?
That's good.
That's
Yeah.
good. Okay. So now
And then just like make it in a circle and like blend it all up together. Yeah. There you go.
Whoa. So this is the one time you can circle it up.
Yeah. You're not gonna be in like full whisk mode yet.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is how you make it into a paste. You circle it up a little bit.
And then just get all that on the sides.
Yeah, get it all in there. Whoa. Okay. So I guess the lesson I'm learning for you is it's okay if it's a little clumped up as long as you have a plan to whisk it briskly
Yeah.
with hot water later.
Yeah. But like maybe get that part on the side over there.
Oh yeah,
That-
I didn't see. I didn't
Yeah,
even see
that.
because I would the angle. Oh, interesting.
That's pretty good. That's like good enough, I'd say. And then now you'll add a little bit of the hot water.
Now you add the hot water in there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Just about like 2. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You add the hot water and now you whisk it.
Yes.
Wow. So this is the part that I had to learn because I didn't know how to do this correctly. When I first tried it, I would only go side to side without the zigzag. So people say W, right? I didn't know how to do the W. I would only do side to side without also moving it laterally. So as you guys can
that's
see, like
literally perfect.
yeah, it's perfect, right? As you do it, man, Brenna, you taught me something, which is I can see just by the color that the cold paste actually, like it has a slightly different color than the type of matcha I've been making.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you can see it by the color. I'm a little neurodivergent, so maybe other people can't see it like I do, but I've always had a little bit of synesthesia. So, oh, this is so cool. Yeah,
You just did it so well.
Brenna, you're a good teacher, man. Wow. Look at this. Like, it's a slightly different consistency than if I didn't have the cold paste first.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's like micro foam, like a little bit less like big bubbles and a little bit more like frothy.
Wow, this is so cool.
I have a feeling you're gonna get really good at making matchas. I mean, you already did, but it's gonna get even more and more.
Brenna, being a good teacher. I'm telling you, there's one thing I will give Brenna a lot of credit for. Brenna's the type of guy. She seems very. Did I say guy? I'm so sorry. Brenna's a girl. As she was drinking matcha,
Can you keep that in there? Can you keep that in there?
Yeah. Brenna's the type of person, very approachable, right? One of the things that I think is an asset, but also potentially a potential thing that would yield, like you talk about unsolicited advice, is that, you know, Brenna's very approachable. She doesn't seem threatening at all. Like, you don't give off that, like, oh, power businesswoman, I have to get my way or else. Like, she doesn't give off that, right? And like, for example, she just taught me something. Like, I was scared to do it because I'm like, oh, what if I ruin my matcha? But she was very gently encouraging. That was very cool. That's an example of like how Brenna's really good.
Thanks. Well, I feel like it was a good moment for you to like try something different.
Yeah.
Even though at first you were like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna try this for the first time. Let's see. Whoa, it's got a different taste too. Oh, this is why I love this whole matcha thing. You just change one little thing to it, dude. It has like the consistency changed. The consistency changed. Wow.
Yeah. And it probably tastes less bitter and a little bit more smooth, light tasting
Yeah.
because you introduced the cold water first.
Wow. What I would say, Brenna, is that it's got a little bit more of an earthy taste now than before.
Mm.
Yeah, it
Oh,
brought out a more earthy taste.
okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Earthy is good.
Wow. I can imagine if this were paired with like oat milk or spout milk, this way of making it, it would taste so good.
I love, even though I know like the matcha that I source is really great with water, I do love adding a little bit of oat milk just
Mhm.
for that like little creamy taste. It's good. And then sometimes on like a really hot summer day, you can just have like ice and water with it and it tastes so refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. This is really interesting. I will be honest. I think it's just because I got used to the other taste without first making it a little bit with the cold water. I actually prefer the other one more. But again,
Oh,
it could just be because I've acquired the other taste, right?
yeah.
This one's
Wow.
definitely, you can tell it brings out the tea more. Like I'm tasting more of the tea than before.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So cool.
I
Wow.
can't wait for you to try this one.
Yeah. Woo.
I wish I could like throw it into the iPad and then have you like catch it.
Yeah.
We could do
One
something like that in the future.
Definitely. One thing, Brenda, I'd recommend you do, like, make some tutorials on this.
I
Do you
actually
have any?
just posted a
Oh,
tutorial
uh,
last night.
uh-huh.
It's in a reel on the Instagram, so go look at it and let me know what you think of it. Everybody was asking like you should make a how to make video, so I'm gonna start making them more often, but that was like the first one.
Yeah.
And I did a little voiceover and we filmed it yesterday in Malibu. My friend,
Wow.
when I say we, I really did mean my friend and me.
Yeah, this time. This time. Not just you and Lenny or you and
Yeah,
yeah,
and or
exactly.
me and Ryoko.
Yeah, Ryoko, exactly. As you can tell, this camera, it's like a little bright. I'm trying to figure out how to unbrighten it. I don't know if there is a way. There used to be a way, but if not, it's no big deal. But yeah, people, for those of you who don't know, this is Brenna's first time ever using Google Meets to do an interview. And this is the first time I'm ever using this Logitech camera with Google Meets. That's why I'm like, it's a little
It's
bit
such good quality.
it is, yeah. Thank
Yeah,
goodness. That's why I had to use that one for the little matcha segment.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is my first interview that I can think of for Ryoko Matcha, and so I have a feeling that now maybe this summer we can start like an interview series. There have been two other people who they are interested in making podcasts and asked me to be interviewed, but they haven't actually launched their podcast yet. So whenever that comes,
Yeah.
you know, Benny, shout out Benny.
He has
Benny's
a
gonna have a
podcast
podcast.
now? Wow.
He doesn't have it yet, but it's coming,
Oh, okay.
and I'll
Well,
be
I
on.
hope I hope he launches it soon.
Yeah,
Wow, that's cool. I'm just playing with all these things I didn't even know about that Google Meets has. This is
it's so
crazy.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's all these
I
things.
use this and Zoom weekly for like all my meetings and all that, but I've never done this, so this is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I wish
anyway.
every Google Meet can be like this fun.
Well, just find people who I don't know. I don't know. I was gonna give a tip on how you can find people who interview like this, but I think I got a special thing when I interview people, so I don't. I don't
Yeah,
know
you
if I'll
do.
do
This is a special, awesome, reflective interview. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, this is Brenna here. How do you say your last name?
Hirshorn.
Hirshorn.
Hirshorn. Yeah.
And she will definitely be back because again, we have a lot more to show. I didn't know we could do this. Look at this. Guys, I'm totally nerding out right now over technology. I'm suddenly on the side. I didn't realize you could do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm on the side. I don't know if that means when it records, it's going to show both of us. I've been trying to figure out how to do that forever on Google Meets. I don't think it's possible to have both of you at the same time on screen, but
Um,
it's okay. We're going to figure it out because we tried something new today. And
yeah.
yeah.
And we can definitely do this again, and I'll give some updates on how everything's going. Maybe in like a few months would be cool. We'll check.
Exactly. And yeah, I look forward to your content. And guys, for those of you who see this later, if you have any questions or you have any requests, put in the comment section because we can make matcha together. We can do something, And
Oh yeah, we could do something like a little virtual matcha making with whoever is interested. When is this going to be shared, by the way?
I'll edit the talk with Sammy first, and then I'll edit this one. And who knows? Maybe this doesn't even need much editing. Probably the part before I start making the matcha. Maybe I'll like trim that, but that's about it. I think everything else was very good.
Well, just in case it goes soon, like this week, maybe not. But if it did, everybody, June 28th, we're having our 1-year anniversary in LA. So if you are interested, it's on Eventbrite. And our Instagram is at Ryoko Matcha, and our website is ryokomatcha.com. And we do have, I believe, one matcha tin left online right now. And then it will be sold out until October, and we'll switch into a new cultivar after that or before that.
And for those of you who have Eventbrite, this is the event you're talking about, right, Brenna?
Yes, that's the one.
This is the one. So it is at it's one of the stores that carries your product, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna be in there before they open. So it's 10 a.m., like a little private event. And we're gonna be tasting 3 different matchas, and there will be merch, and then we'll have our DJ afterwards.
Wow.
So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good celebration, and it will be the first time that I'm actually doing like a informative educational tasting session where like I'm in like a room where it's like quiet and I talk about the matcha. It'll be unique.
Yeah. And I think you have a knack for that. So it's going to be a good event.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think we'll bring Brenna back in the future. And I get a feeling we'll bring her back when she either makes like 10 tutorial videos or does something. I think like you have an amazing ambassador quality for matcha. And I'm sure the Japanese culture, the Chinese culture too, would appreciate people with non-Asian faces being able to kind of be this passionate about matcha. So this was really good.
Yeah. Thank you. In Japan, that was like a common comment. People were like, wow, like, why do you like matcha so much? Like all the Japanese people that I spent time with, I was just like, well, I think I was Japanese in my past life. I really do.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have a Japanese name? We got to give you one.
It's Brenna.
Oh, just the Japanese way of saying your name.
But maybe we make another kind too. But yeah, Brenna. Brenna is the one.
Okay.
Brenna. Let me know if you have any other ideas.
Yeah. I mean, I could potentially find a way to give you a name in Mandarin. But yeah, Japanese, you'll have to ask the Japanese sourcers or the people you source from. Awesome, guys. Well, I will put more links and everything in the description once this goes up, guys. So check the description for more links to stuff we talked about.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.